So today's session is about understanding how to look at a mushroom and how does it do what it does in the ecosystem. So quickly getting into it. Today's session is understanding mushroom morphology for identification of wild mushrooms. So when we talk about mushrooms, mushrooms come and they fall in this kingdom of fungi, and fungi itself got its uh, recognition as a kingdom in 2021, which is very fascinating and great to have for organism like fungi, because till now they were considered a part of the flora, which is the plant kingdom. While there are a lot more similarities between fungus and animals, we do share common ancestral lines somewhere where we are closely related to fungi way more than we are related to plants. So that is also amazing to know. We share a lot of similarities with fungi, where fungi also need to find their food outside their bodies. So do animals like us. Also, we breathe in oxygen and we give out CO2. Plants do the opposite. Fungi do the same that we do, where we take in oxygen and we breathe out CO2. So, but fungi have been here since almost 2.4 billion years old. And this organism is a chemical mastermind, where it has been like an architect in building and shaping the earth that we see. So while fungi is a very big kingdom, there are some fungi which make mushrooms, and they are called macrofungi. So getting to the part one of this, where we'll discuss about different ecologies and types of morphologies of mushroom. What is all that? I'll tell you. Uh, the first question is, what is a mushroom? Right. So there are approximately 1.4 million species of fungi. Approximate number this is, because a lot of them are being still discovered. Out of this, there are certain classes called ascomycetes and basidiomycetes. Ascomycetes and basidiomycetes form visible fruit bodies, which are visible to the naked eye, and we call them mushrooms. So when I say a mushroom, we can say that all fungi produce, basically all mushrooms are fungi, but all fungi are not mushrooms. So it's like a part of the kingdom. The mushroom is a part of the fungal kingdom. Yeah. So mushrooms are the fruiting body of the mycelium. Now, what is a fruiting body essentially? How can we understand that? So, say you have an apple tree. So the apple is the fruit of the tree, right? So similarly, in this image, if you see, the mushroom is here and it's popping out from the ground from these structures which are like thread like. They also look like thunder, it also look like neurons, and it is called hyphae or the mycelium, right? So mycelium is the tree and the mushroom is the apple of the tree or the fruiting body. So as apples have a role of making seed other than we consuming it, because that's why we call it fruits, because we consume fruits. It's a very humanistic human type name. But anyways, so mushrooms make spores, which are the seeds or the new genetic lines for the proliferation of that particular organism. So hence they are called fruiting bodies. So mushrooms are the fruiting bodies of the mycelium. Simply saying, like the apple tree will have its apple fruit, mycelium is the tree comparatively, and mushroom are its fruits. Uh, Mushrooms are mainly to spread the spores, like spreading the seeds. So because they are called fruiting bodies, and because generally when we think about mushrooms, we have a lot of false beliefs. We have, being in a country like India, we are heavily influenced by Ayurveda, and while Ayurveda is not fully understood, I also understand somewhere that a lot of false information goes around it where mushrooms are called tamasic. And by tamasic, it means they are inertia causing organisms. Well, when this is not true, there are a lot of mushrooms which exist, and I have met people in Himachal in my journeys where they are using mushroom as a medicine, as a mix of their uh, mixture of medicine, like when they mix and make something for specific causes. While it is not right now the requirement to talk on what mushrooms do what, I want to break some myths which are around mushroom and its edibility. So there are some false beliefs that I have heard, and that it may be poisonous if it's red in color. It is very funny, but that WhatsApp emoji that you have in your WhatsApp or emojis is coming from a mushroom which is also edible, and it's also used for its spiritual abilities, which it can give to a human being. It's like a symbiosis. It goes into a human system and then it does something which makes a person different. So these mushrooms, it doesn't mean that they are red in color, so they cannot be consumed. In fact, the image that you see in this slide is of a Rasula species, which is very easily found in association with trees. And it's an edible mushroom. You can see it is kept in a patila, like a container with a hand in it. So it's like actually a forage mushrooms. It's a forage mushroom from the wild, and people eat it. Um, then there are false beliefs like it's growing on grounds and areas where dog will piss. Now, where does this point come from? Is because if you are in North India, or if you know about it, everywhere around, say, above Karnataka or above Maharashtra, all over India, mushrooms are called as kukurmutta. Kukurmutta translates to uh, kukur means dog and mutta means piss. So, jahan pe dog pisses, mushroom grows. That's a very bad name for an organism like this to have, because it's not true also. And so that is something that I think should be changed in terms of how amazing this organism is, because it provides food, medicine, and also helps someone in their spiritual journeys. Coming back to the same point, if it's white it will be edible. So somewhere people say that if it is white it is edible because white is a safe color, but let me tell you, there are white looking mushrooms which are not edible also. In fact, Amanita verosa, which is one of the deadliest mushroom, it's called a death angel. If you eat it you can die, or have severe gastrointestinal distresses, or even other things which are not pleasant. While there are also white mushrooms that you eat, and the common example of that being the white button mushroom that we get in the market, which probably everyone on this call would have eaten. Um, there are also false beliefs that all mushrooms cannot be touched directly. So I have been with mushrooms, working with them since 2020, and since 2020, I think I would have come across a lot of mushroom species. Okay, and I've touched all of them, because while you get to know new organism, it's very critical that you touch it, you feel it, so you understand its texture, and then you can relate to it more when you see it again in the wild, right? And I have been mostly to forests with my bare hands. I never use gloves. So this, all of these points where if it is red in color it's not edible, calling it that it will only grow where the dog will piss, or if it is white it is edible, or all mushrooms cannot be touched directly, these are all points which are not really true. Okay, and all mushrooms can be touched, and I am still alive. It's 2025, and I'm doing this since 2020. So yes. So then the question is that then how does one figure out the edibility of a mushroom, right? That is the one of the main questions for us humans. So please take a point and note this, that the edibility of a mushroom can be figured out after rightly identifying it. Right. There are edibility protocols that exist, but they can turn risky if not executed correctly. So before, people did not know about how to look at a mushroom and find its edibility, etc. There are tribes who still somewhere confuse between two mushrooms, and there are very less cases now, but there are still cases where people eat the wrong mushrooms and they have a wrong outcome, other than just filling their tummies or getting the high amount of proteins they can provide and other micronutrient profile rich things. So the best and the easiest way is to get a positive ID. ID means identification, and that can come on the field only if one knows how to observe and understand the mushroom morphology, and then putting those pieces of the puzzle to reach to the ID. It is like puzzle solving, and it's very much fun. It's like observation where you can just connect the dots and come to an ID. So that is what generally people who reply to a ID requests do. So if you have sent an ID request to someone, that is what they do. They look at the morphology and tell you, okay, this is what it is. What is morphology? Morphology in biology, by definition, is a study of the size, shape, structure of animals, plants, and microorganisms, and of the relationships of their constituent parts. So it's same like if you observe a human being, you know the person is standing on two legs. Okay, they have two hands, probably has a language by now, has two eyes, looks like just you and me. So we can call him that he's not a monkey, he's not a tiger, he's a human being. Similarly, there are parts of the mushroom that you need to observe, and then you can come to an conclusion. So today's talk is divided into two parts. So the first part we'll discuss about types of morphologies, and the second part is we'll get specifically into agaric type mushrooms. What is agaric? Again, we'll come to it when we reach there. But understanding that today's session is mostly about macromorphology, which means that observing through the eye, because in the field you may not have a microscope, you don't have that advanced technology of using a microscope, you don't have even advanced technologies of DNA sequencing right there right that moment to find a positive ID. So how do you still clear your doubts and probably end up foraging some edible mushrooms? Kind of like that is what you can see today's session is for. Okay, uh, so let's learn about it. So there are approximately 20,000 species of mushrooms, okay? And when there are 20,000 species of mushroom, I am sure you cannot put all of them into कि यार ये सब तामसिक है इसको नहीं खा सकते. You need to understand everything. And like Omkar introduced fungi by saying they are often overlooked. This is one organism which has been overlooked for a very long time. Till 2021, till they got their own kingdom. So uh, understanding mushrooms, we won't get too scientific, but we will understand that what are the different shapes or statures that we find the mushrooms in. So this is like a list of things. We have pictures, but there are agaric, there are polypores, there are puffballs, there are coral mushrooms, there are jelly type mushrooms. If you like Asian cuisines, you would have seen jelly mushrooms. There are bolids, which are found in temperate climates mostly, majorly. There are stinkhorns. There is crutch fungi growing on the edge of wood or something like that. There are club shaped and other weird ones, like if you know of the dead man's fingers. And there are cup fungi. So getting into pictures so we can relate better. Agaric or the guild mushrooms. Omkar, just quickly checking, everything is going fine, right? Yeah. Okay. Because I can't see the screen also, so I have to depend on your voice. So yeah, agaric or guild mushrooms. These are the mushrooms which generally come to our imagination when we think of a mushroom. It comes like this umbrella shaped structure. So these are some examples which I have found: Leucocoprinus cretaceous, Gymnopilus satharella. Okay. Um, what are these names? These are called binomial names. Okay. So the first one you see over here is Leucocoprinus cretaceous. When I talk about human beings, we are called Homo sapiens. So, Homo is the genus and sapiens is the species. Similarly, mushrooms have a genus and they have species. When sometimes in the wild you may not know what the species is, you can stick to the genus and then later research a little bit more. So sometimes then you will write Gymnopilus sp dot, means Gymnospilus species, Satharella species. Leucocoprinus cretaceous, I was very sure it is this, so I will stick to the binomial name with the species level. So that is what binomial names are. So agaric is one type of morphology which exists. Okay. Then there are polypores. Polypores are very resilient ones. You would have seen them growing on trees probably if you have seen mushrooms around you. Um, this is an example of Ganoderma, which I found in Baroda in Gujarat. And this is a Formitopsis species from Himachal Pradesh. You can see there are pine trees behind. There's a mountain. So Himachal maybe everywhere. Mushrooms are everywhere. So there are polypores. Why are they called polypores? We'll come to that later on. Uh, then there is jelly mushrooms. Jelly mushrooms are some are edible, some are not. Quite very much used in Asian cuisines. Um, this one, Auricularia auricula judae, is also called the woodier mushroom. So mushrooms have common names. While I have not mentioned common names over here because all mushrooms do not have common names, there are certain mushrooms which do not have common names. Always sticking to the binomial name. So if you find a binomial name, you get a mushroom, you get it ID'd, and it's a binomial name. You first Google that binomial name and do not use the common name. The reason being because there are certain mushrooms which share common names or types of common, like words they share, and you can get confused between the mushrooms. So while binomial names seem to be very much tricky to remember and they sound very nerdy to some and they sound like very much out of context, and how do you remember? Trust me, if you are ending up at the point of, bhai, is this edible or not, you should definitely stick to the binomial name first, because you don't want to risk your body in the first place, and you don't want to give the identifier or the person who's giving you an ID for it like responsibility that way. So they are just going to give you binomial names. It's your responsibility to then research and figure out if you want to eat it or not. So yeah, that is how you start to understand an organism gradually. So Auricularia auricula judae is like the woodier mushroom or the black fungus that comes in a lot of Asian cuisines. While the next one is called Exidia, which sort of looks very similar. So here another point is that when you click mushroom pictures, you really have to zoom in. You can't click from far away because then you may find two mushrooms are looking very similar. So jelly is one morphology. Then there are coral mushrooms. Like we have corals on the seafloor near to the beaches. There are mushrooms which also mimic their morphology, and they are called coral mushrooms. Again, very beautiful. Some corals are edible, some corals are not. Then there are puffballs. So puffballs, they are also called gastroid fungi because they have sac-like structures. And if you know, in news recently, like probably every year they talk about how in Orissa and in Karnataka they eat this special mushroom called the rugda mushroom, which is also a kind of a puffball. Okay. Um, Lycopodon perlatum is an edible mushroom over here. This one. Okay. And so yeah, these are just like different morphologies of mushrooms that you get to see, and everything follows like a way of identifying it. So puffballs. Then we have bolids. While bolids are very similar to agaric looking mushrooms, bolids have pores on the underside. So the underside doesn't have gills. Uh, so that's bolids. Bolids are mostly mycorrhizal mushrooms. Uh, what are mycorrhizal mushrooms? I will come to that point soon. But they are found in temperate climates. You can see the background of the bolete has pine needle type leaves, right? Because it's growing in association with pines and in temperate forests. So boletes is one morphology. Then there are stinkhorns. One of the most fascinating ones. I think a lot of you who would have seen mushrooms and are fascinated by it. I'm sure you really like to see this mushroom. Fun fact about this mushroom is, why is it called a stinkhorn? And yeah, they are mostly called phalluses because they look like phalluses. This genus was called Dictyphora, and then it started like, then some of them came to phallus in a taxonomical revision, uh, which is just like they change the binomial names after finding certain things in the mushroom. So stinkhorns. Let's focus on the first one over here, which is Phallus luteus. It has like a beautiful orange veil, and this top part that you see is shining. That head over there it has something called gleba. Gleba is it's a fluid which is secreted by this mushroom. It makes it stink. That stink or the smell attracts flies or insects, and they come and they sit on this mushroom. And what happens then is that the spores are attached to the legs of that particular insect, and then it spreads itself. And yeah, they have very gothic morphologies also. Stinkhorns are amazing to observe. They are edible also, so people do cultivate this mushroom, and the nets are eaten as a it is medicinal, while it is also gives texture to the to your bite. So stinkhorns are one. Then there are cup fungi. As the name suggests, they look like cups. Most cup fungi form in ascomycetes. Some of them are edible, like the Coquina tricolum on the right side. I recently met someone who eats it in Kerala. So, Coquina tricoloma is an edible mushroom. Sarcosypha, I don't think so. It is edible, but they are very beautiful to look at. And if you see videos of spore release, which happens from a cup fungi, it's beautiful because it's like a cup and the spores like just release out from inside, like it's blowing smoke away, and they're very beautiful. So these were some morphologies. All these names that were here, it's these are not like official kind of names. They are not like scientific levels of name, but they are still used in the community of like mushroom lovers to understand key first. Okay, what kind of a mushroom is it? Is it agaric? Is it a polypore? Is it this? Is it a jelly looking? Is it a coral mushroom? Because if you know that, then you know what is the next things to look at. So that is one part of morphology. With the next very important part is their ecological significance. So as we know that fungi are decomposers and they are chemical masterminds, what do do is they whatever they grow on, they are basically sort of decomposing it, because the fungus is spreading in wood. For example, this first one, wood substrate, Coprinellus section domestici, it is spreading in the wood and it is decomposing wood. Okay, and that wood decomposition is becoming food for the fungus, and then it is making a fruit body out of it, which we call a mushroom, right? So fun fact about this is that if there was not enough fungi and there was not enough organism to decompose wood, specifically fungi, there will be so many trees on earth by now that we will not have area to walk, because it's a 2.4 billion year old organism. It has been doing a lot of decomposition. In fact, it is helping in soil formation also, right? So that is one way to understand. But while we see that what it is doing and where to find it, in terms of identifying it also, the thing it is growing on becomes very critical. So there are fungus, there are mushrooms which grow on wood. There are dung substrate mushrooms like Deconica coprophylla is one mushroom which grows on dungs. These are possibly elephant dungs over here that it is growing on. So dung lovers, there are wood substrate lovers which are called wood lovers. Then there is leaf litter as a substrate. Why is it very important to know about leaf litter? And what I also understood in JJR is that they do not clean leaf litter, and anyone who's like very much conscious of their environment, they don't clean leaf litters. I think most of us feel that our garden should not have leaves lying around, but they are supporting so many microorganisms, which is in turn making that complex leaf carbon profile into simpler carbon profile and making it a nutrient rich soil, which the fungus is doing. So technically, if you're cleaning the leaves away, making it look like nice, clean, like cut to cut, ekdam, then that is basically you're giving away food, you're giving away all the potential, you're taking it away from all these organisms to help your soil become what it has to be like, right? So leaf litter is a substrate. Marasmius capillaris is an example. If you find leaf litter and if it rains in your area, you can just zoom into these leaves and you will find really small mushrooms in the Marasmius, probably Marasmius, Cryptomarasmius type generas. Then there are certain mushrooms which take over live trees also. So, as I said, mushrooms are chemical masterminds. Fungi is a chemical mastermind. It has been manipulating a lot of ways of uh, finding its way through an organism. So, there are parasitic associations also, like on a live tree. There are, these were like saprotrophic associations. Then one of the most fascinating one is the entomopathogenic associations, where if you know of this Netflix series called Last of Us, the inspiration of that mushroom has come from these kind of mushrooms. So they are called entomopathogenic. When I break that down, entomo means it is referring to insects, and pathogenic means disease causing. So it is causing disease on the insects. That is what uh, this says. So entomopathogenic fungi are so fascinating. They are so amazing. And while it may sound scary, let me tell you, this is not going to happen to you. This will happen to insects only. Okay. What happens is this mushroom spore will sit on the body of the insect. It will slowly take over start colonizing, like the spore will become hyphae and the threads will spread. It will take over the central nervous system, and gradually it will take that insect, controlling the insect to a sweet spot somewhere, for example under this leaf or somewhere like that, or on top of a tree or on a side branch of a tree, where the spore release can happen very naturally. One of the most fascinating examples, intelligence examples, is entomopathogenic. Cordyceps mushroom, which is the famous mushroom, recently a lot of people are using it now. It is called Kida Jadi, which is Cordyceps sinensis. The lab cultivated Cordyceps militaris, they all are from entomopathogenic mushrooms. Though Cordyceps militaris is grown in the lab without the use of insects through on vegetarian substrates also, that was a scientific discovery through trial and error, but they all come from this entomopathogenic type of mushrooms. Then, as simple as something growing out of soil. So, while soil is also coming from the wood, and you can call them saprophytes, they are still secondary decomposers. They are not primary decomposers. So, primary decomposers are turning wood into simpler nutrients. And then there are soil mushrooms, which are using even simpler nutrients to eat. Hygrocybe, this is one beautiful mushroom I found, which you can find in a lot of places. This picture is from Wayanad in Kerala. I really like this picture. In fact, it is my wallpaper and of my phone. And so that is they are found in soil. Okay, and then there is association with termite colonies. This is one of the most looked for mushrooms for the people who eat it. Mostly people on the ghats find this mushroom because it grows abundantly over there. Fun fact about this mushroom, which associates with termite colonies, it's called termitomyces. You can see the fruiting bodies here. Then it has a pseudorhiza, which is like a root-like structure made up of mycelium. And then this is the fungal combs. These combs are nothing but actually they are like the colonies of the, what is it called, termites. And these termites are harvesting this fungus. When there's enough fungus, it is going to make a mushroom, and that is what we are going to eat. Very famous in Maharashtra. You may have read of an article about this thunder mushrooms or something. I think they refer to this mushroom only. Very high in protein. In fact, it grows in Shravan Mahina, and like the month where a lot of Shiva devotees stop eating non-vegetarian and prefer to use vegetarian food. While they know that mushrooms are vegetarian, they will like to eat this, and it is high in protein. It's great for pregnant women also. So yeah, tomatomyces is what is the name of this mushroom, or simply call it termite mushroom. I said parasitic association. So while there is mushrooms taking over live trees, like I talked over here, there are parasitic associations of fungus taking over a fungus also. So this is like Tremella fusiformis parasitizing hypoxylon over here. If you see this red blobs, sorry, not red, black blobs, that's hypoxylon. And then this beautiful looking jelly mushroom comes on it. It's called Tremella fusiformis. And Tremella fusiformis has a lot of medicinal value, as well as it is there in a lot of Asian cuisines also. For the crunch it has, it gives amazing sleep also. I have once made a tea of it and I just drank it. You put the mushroom in water, you boil it for like 20-30 minutes, and you have the tea, you'll get amazing sleep. So parasitic association is, there is parasitic association. So by this you understand there are so many different associations which exist, and they have so much ecological importance in terms of their own growth and degrading a lot of things, and also providing food. Like some of them provide food, right? um, while that is one thing, I, from the point of an identifier, it is very important to know what the mushroom is growing on, because it narrows down a lot of information.